All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. So, according to Boxing News 24, Terence Crawford has called out Canelo Alvarez for a fight after Sean Porter, saying that he believes that is the only way that he is going to actually get respect in the boxing world. He's probably right. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back. So in this particular video, we're going to talk about the two top pound for pound fighters in the world, or two of the top pound for pound fighters in the world. Many people have Canelo Alvarez, Saul Canelo Alvarez, the undisputed 168 pound champion, as the number one guy pound for pound in the world. The other guy, Terence Crawford, who is my pound for pound and many other people's pound for pound number one fighter in the world. According to Boxing News 24, do not shoot the messenger. I read the article. I was looking for where he did it, but there's a lot of different interviews that were going on with ESPN yesterday. So I'm just sourcing this off the article on Boxing News 24. Said that, you know, he doesn't get the respect that he deserves, that he doesn't get respect. He probably will not get respect after this Sean Porter fight. He mentions the fact that Floyd Mayweather Jr. also didn't get a lot of respect. So he said, look, in order for me to get my respect, I'm going to have to fight Canelo Alvarez to get my respect. So if you're familiar with Terence Crawford, that is about as direct a call out as you're going to get out of him. And honestly, you know, it's something that I really do wish could actually happen. There are going to be a lot of people, and I feel like I have to almost give like retorts in the middle of videos, but there's going to be a lot of people that are going to laugh that off because they just think that Canelo Alvarez should not have to fight anybody that actually asks him for a fight. And that Canelo Alvarez is, you know, just should pick and choose whoever he wants to fight because he's the big cash cow in boxing. They're going to treat Terence Crawford saying this as a joke. Similarly, there's another welterweight, another big, you know, another pound for pound guy in the welterweight division, Errol Spence Jr., who also said that he would be interested in fighting or wants to, you know, move up to fight Canelo Alvarez, to challenge for, to get payday, like they say. However, in the case of Errol Spence Jr., you can't say that's all that he wants because it's a guy that is already making roughly $20 million a fight, does not have to fight again. So, you know, it just goes to show you that these smaller fighters do not see Canelo Alvarez as somebody that is undefeatable and are willing to move up in weight in order to take on that challenge. As far as like whether or not it can actually happen, if everything was normal in boxing and Canelo Alvarez was being I think, you know, a more authentic fighter, and I mean, I'm not saying that he's not an authentic fighter in the sense that he is you know, not really a good fighter, or that he's not a skilled fighter and every bit as good as people say. I mean, like maybe like instead of authentic fighter, a more traditional fighter, a fighter that is going to sit in a weight class and is going to defend and prove that he's the best in a weight class, instead of trying to jump around different weight classes and fighting guys that, you know, are weak links in weight classes. If he was somebody that was a traditional fighter, like a Bernard Hopkins, who's at, you know, who was the best guy at 160 pounds for, I don't know, maybe a decade, you know, 20 or 21 successful title defenses. This would be something that could take place. Like and for example, Bernard Hopkins was there, and there was a guy named Oscar De La Hoya who moved all the way up, I do believe, from 126 pounds all the way up to 160 pounds to fight Bernard Hopkins in a very big fight. I think it might have been the biggest fight of Bernard Hopkins' career monetarily. And it was a challenge that Oscar De La Hoya took, that Oscar De La Hoya was not successful in, but it's one that he took. You can also look at Floyd Mayweather Jr., who started his career either at 126 or 130, moved all the way up to 154 pounds to fight Canelo Alvarez and to fight Oscar De La Hoya and these guys at 147 pounds. These type of moves up in weight have happened, and I don't think it is I don't think that it is it's crazy for Terence Crawford or Errol Spence Jr. to think that they could go up to 160 or go up to 168 pounds and beat Canelo Alvarez. Because first, Canelo Alvarez is not a prototypical 168 pounder. He is a guy that started his career at 154 pounds. He stands somewhere around 5'7", 5'8", so he's not too much taller than Errol Spence. He's not too much taller than Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford, I'd have to look at his arm reach, but I suspect that his arm reach isn't much longer than Terence Crawford's, and it would just depend on how well Terence Crawford's power translates up. So if Terence was able to actually go and clear out the 147-pound division, if he's able to beat Sean Porter, if he's able to beat Errol Spence Jr., because that's obviously that's the fight that I really want to see. If he's able to do those things, and he has people that are actually talking about him and saying, hey, this is, a guy that is one of the top, is the top pound for pound fighter. He proved it by unifying 147 pounds. Then that is a challenge that I think that Canelo Alvarez should take on. And it's not unreasonable for Terence Crawford to ask for. If, like I said, this was some, a traditional fighter in Canelo Alvarez. But what Canelo Alvarez is showing is that Canelo Alvarez is making enough money, so much money fighting whoever that he wants, that he is kind of making up these different challenges for himself, going to become undisputed at 168, which is definitely not a bad thing. But he's not pressed about beating guys and proving that he can beat any particular fighter. You see what I'm saying? So it's not, with Canelo, it doesn't seem like he's interested in saying, oh, let me prove that I can beat an Anthony Joshua. Let me prove that I can beat a Arthur Beterbiev. Let me prove that I can beat a Jermall Charlo or let me prove that I can beat these guys. Because his fan base, well, I'm not going to say because his fan base, I'm just looking at what he's been doing, doesn't seem like he has really set his mind on trying to beat any particular fighter. And in fact, whenever it seems like a fighter calls him out and asks for a fight too vehemently, it seems like it turns him off and he's even less interested in the fight. However, the flash of, hope for people that actually may want to see these things is that he did say he would be interested in fighting an Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. is probably the biggest fight in boxing that Canelo can make. So if Terence Crawford can go through Errol Spence Jr. and is successful in that regard, then hey, maybe he may make Canelo Alvarez may be interested in the fight. But as far as how the fight would actually go, I'm telling you, I've seen wilder things, man. I think that Canelo Alvarez is beating guys where his big advantage is his speed. And his advantage is that he's just a much better fighter than all the guys that he's fighting, even if they're bigger than him. Like this fight that's coming up with Makabu that they say they're going to have in May. I mean, Makabu is a bigger fighter. He's a 200-pound fighter, but and a cruiserweight, but he's not a very skilled cruiserweight. So Canelo Alvarez is going to be able to outthink him in the ring. He's going to be able to score points when he wants to. If Canelo Alvarez, I don't know how, whether or not he's going to have the power to knock out Makabu. I haven't seen him that, in that much of detail, but it's something that he can do. So, and I don't think that any individual in boxing is doing something that is impossible for other people to do. So if a guy like Canelo Alvarez can go from 154 to 160 to 168 to 175 to cruiserweight, why can't a guy like Terence Crawford go from 135 to 135 to 140 to 147 to 154 to 160 to 168, right? Or to 175. That's something that Manny Pacquiao did coming down from those weight classes. So I know that Terence Crawford more than likely is going to be scoffed off with this, and people aren't going to pay attention to it or treat it like it's a legitimate thing. But, if Manny Pacquiao can do it, Canelo Alvarez can do it, Roy Jones Jr. can do it, why can't a guy like Terence Crawford do it? So anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.